Grandma catches a pastor with her daughter, and what she does next is unthinkable. The sun dipped low over Maplewood, casting long shadows that tangled with the crisp autumn leaves. Lydia stood at the window, hands pressed against the cool glass, watching the bustling town square below. Children laughed, couples strolled hand in hand, and the scent of roasted chestnuts filled the air. But Lydia's heart felt heavy. She could sense trouble brewing just beneath the surface of their quaint little town. That's when she saw her granddaughter, Mia, darting down the street. Wild, untamed hair flying behind her. She was the kind of girl who danced with fire. Lydia watched, pursing her lips. She had heard whispers, the kind that twisted in the corners of the diner, punctuated by gasps and judgment. Mia, with her electric blue nails and ripped jeans, was becoming a topic of conversation. But tonight was different. As Lydia squinted against the fading light, she saw a man emerge from the church. A man who commanded respect. The town's beloved pastor, Gregory Hayes. His smile was warm, the kind that wrapped around people like a cozy blanket. But did anyone notice the glimmer in his eyes? The way they twinkled with secrets? Lydia's heart sank as Mia dashed towards him, laughter ringing like bells in the cool evening air. She felt a chill creep up her spine. Something twisted in her gut, and she gripped the windowsill tightly, nails biting into the wood. Lydia's instincts screamed, urging her to act. She hurried out the door, feet pounding against the pavement. Every step felt like a premonition, the urgency in her heart hammering against her chest. Was it intuition, or was it simply fear? As she approached, she caught sight of them again. Mia leaned close, whispering something that turned Pastor Hayes's casual demeanor into something darker. A predator drawn to his prey. Lydia's breath caught. The pastor's hand brushed against Mia's arm. A light touch that sent a bolt of fury through Lydia. She wouldn't let this happen. "Hey!" she shouted, fury spilling from her lips like hot coals. Mia's eyes widened, shock painted across her youthful face. Pastor Hayes straightened, his charismatic smile fading. "Lydia, Stay away." "From her!" Lydia interjected, her voice a battle cry. The townsfolk paused, conversations falling silent as Lydia's words echoed through the square. She saw the murmurs, the judgment, the knots of gossip quickly twisting around her family name. But she didn't care. All that mattered was Mia. Just as turmoil raged, a disquieting memory crashed over Lydia. The pastor's family, once intertwined with hers in a tragic dance of secrets and pain. Years ago, their lives had been woven together in scandal, betrayal, a connection that now felt like a noose tightening around her throat. Had he planned this all along? Would he drag her family back into the shadows of their lost past? As the tension swirled, Lydia felt the weight of her decision. To protect Mia meant exposing old wounds, risking the fragile facade of respectability that held Maplewood together. Did she have the strength to unearth the truth, to confront the ghosts in the night? The stakes were rising. The air crackled with unsaid words, lightning lacing through the darkening sky. "Lydia," the pastor began, but she turned her back, pulling Mia close. "Let's go home," she said, her skin prickling with the weight of what was to come. With each step away, the question burned in her mind. Could her actions bring justice, or would they only unravel the fragile threads that stitched their lives together? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. As Lydia pulled Mia close, a fragile calm settled around them. The murmurs of the crowd faded into a distant hum, the reality of the confrontation still crackling in the air. But just as Lydia took a breath to steady herself, the world tilted on its axis. Out of nowhere, a sharp scream cut through the night. Heads turned. Lydia jerked her head to the right, heart pounding. People were pointing towards the church, the shadows of the steeple dark against the glowing sky. "Mom!" Mia cried, pulling away. Lydia's stomach dropped. "What is it?" she asked, her voice suddenly small. Before she could move, a figure burst from the church doors, stumbling into the square. It was Sarah, the pastor's wife, her face streaked with tears, hair wild like a storm had hit her. She was gasping, words tumbling out in a rush. "It's Gregory! It's Gregory!" she shouted, breathless, pointing back at the church. The crowd swarmed with curiosity, a sea of faces filled with disbelief and concern. Lydia felt her heart hammering, unsure if it was fear for Mia or for the pastor. "Sarah, what's happened?" Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from inside the church. A heavy thud that made everyone flinch. A frantic rush followed, people shoving one another to look through the large glass windows. Then the door swung open. Lydia's breath hitched as two more figures entered the fray. Two officers in uniform, faces grim. "God. What now? Is everything all right?" Someone from the crowd called out, but it was more a plea than a question. "Where's Pastor Hayes?" One officer shouted above the growing sea of whispers, his voice heavy with authority. Lydia felt disoriented. She turned to Mia, whose wide eyes mirrored her own confusion. "Stay close," she warned, grasping her granddaughter's hand tightly. Then the unimaginable happened. From the church, a figure stumbled out. Gregory Hayes, but he was different. His clothes were disheveled, face pale, and there was something unsettling in his gaze. He looked like a man haunted by his own reflection. As he moved, a bloodied hand emerged from his pocket, dropping something heavy at his feet. A small dirty cloth. The crowd gasped. It was unmistakably stained. Voices erupted, confusion and fear blending into a chaotic chorus. "Murder!" someone shouted, the word cutting through the gasps. Gasps turned to panic. Fear spread like wildfire. But Lydia's heart lurched for a different reason. As she searched the frewing answer, she spotted Sarah again, her face twisted in a mix of anger and sorrow. "You didn't think I wouldn't find out?" she cried, voice trembling. Gregory's eyes flickered with something unreadable, a mix of defiance and fear. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this," he shouted, his voice cracking. "Wasn't supposed to happen like what?" Lydia pressed, stepping forward. She needed to know. Then Sarah lunged forward. "You don't understand, Lydia. Everything's been a lie. I was protecting you." The impact of her words rippled through Lydia. Protecting her? What did she mean? The crowd collectively held its breath. The weight of Sarah's accusation was tangible, thick and suffocating. "Mia, stay back!" Lydia shouted suddenly. feeling the ground shift beneath her. The truth was unraveling, but what lay ahead could destroy everything. Mia's eyes were wide with fear and confusion. "Mom, what did she mean?" Lydia opened her mouth, but the words failed her. Instead, chaos erupted, cries echoing as the officers pulled Gregory away, shouting orders to disperse. As the sirens wailed in the distance, Lydia felt a weight crash down on her heart. What had been exposed? What truth lingered in the chaos? She turned to the crowd, searching faces for answers, but all she found were shocked expressions, reflectors of her own horror. Mia squeezed her hand tighter. "Mom, what's happening?" And under the fading light, with shadows lengthening, Lydia realized that everything she thought she knew was just the beginning of a much darker reality. What secrets had Sarah been hiding? What did protection even mean? Dread washed over her as the night deepened. The answers were out there, waiting, and they would change everything. The chaos swirled, and Lydia's heart raced. She felt an electric charge in the air, a palpable weight that only intensified with the panic-stricken screams. Mia looked up, fear etched into her young features. "Mom, what's happening?" Lydia gripped her daughter's hand tighter, unsure how to answer. What was happening? The reality hung heavy as the crowd buzzed with anxiety. Faces twisted in confusion, lips moved, words whispered like a thick fog rolling in. "Look!" someone shouted, pointing. Lydia turned her head, her stomach roiling. More figures emerged from the church, familiar faces twisted in anguish. Samuel, the choir director, stumbled out, his face a mask of shock. "It's not what you think," he yelled, his voice cracking. "You all need to listen." A collective gasp erupted as another figure followed closely behind. It was Ethan, the town's young mechanic, his face a canvas of disbelief. "Sarah, are you okay?" he shouted, moving toward the pastor's wife. "Stay back!" Sarah cried, backing against the church wall, breathing hard. "You don't understand what's happening. You all don't know him like I do." The tension thickened in the air like a storm about to break. Lydia's mind raced. What was Sarah guarding, hiding under layers of pain? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, the largest shock shattered through the crowd. "Everyone's been lying!" Sarah screamed, her voice piercing through the chaos. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I know what you've done, Gregory. You've manipulated all of us. You think you're innocent? But I found the files." "Files?" Lydia echoed, confusion flooding her. "I found everything. The records, the secrets. You have no idea what you're dealing with." Sarah's words crashed like waves. Gregory staggered back, the color draining from his face. You don't know what that means. Don't bring them into this, Sarah." But the desperate tremor in his voice betrayed him. "What files?" Lydia asked again, desperation creeping into her tone. Before anyone could respond, the ground beneath them shook. Thunderous crash echoed from inside the church. Lydia's heart pounded as the shimmer of flames flickered through the church's doors, casting ominous shadows on the stone pathway. "Fire!" someone shouted, panic sparking like kindling. Then, as if time slowed, another figure emerged from the smoking entrance. Sammy, the local librarian, her eyes wide, her hands across her chest. She dropped to her knees, breathless. "I found the truth. It was all connected. The pastor, the disappearances. Disappearances? Mia whispered, gripping Lydia's arm. Years, Lydia, years of lies, Sammy gasped, the weight of her words crashing down like glass shards. The crowd shifted, unease settling in among the townsfolk. What were they really hiding? What had Lydia been fighting to protect? With each revelation, the air grew heavier, the tension thicker. "I'm not the only one who knows," Sarah continued, her voice gaining strength. "And if you don't believe me, just look at what's happening now." Before Lydia could ask what she meant, another scream shattered the night. This time, it was a voice she recognized well. Mia. She pulled away, eyes frantic, staring toward the church. "Mia!" Lydia reached out, but it was too late. Her granddaughter took a step back, something glimmering in her hands. "What do you have?" Lydia cried. "Mia, come back!" Mia stared wide-eyed at the chaos, but what she held was too shocking to look away from. "Mom, look!" In her hands lay a small black notebook, wrinkled and weather-beaten, the very picture of hidden secrets. Lydia froze. She didn't just sense trouble brewing anymore. She felt it blaze before her eyes, a smoldering pit of dread. "Mia, don't!" But it was too late. As her granddaughter opened the notebook, a wave of horror rolled through the crowd, faces going pale. Mia's voice trembled. "It has names! All the names!" Lydia's world spun. She felt her knees weaken. What had just changed? What had been hidden in that notebook? And as flames flickered behind them, illuminating the faces of shocking betrayal, one question loomed large. What dark truth was about to be unveiled, threatening to consume them all? Mia's eyes widened, the notebook trembling in her grip. Lydia felt her breath catch, heart pounding in her ears. "Mia, don't read it out loud," she urged. But it was too late. Mia flipped open the pages and the crowd leaned in, curiosity morphing into dread. This has names of people who've gone missing, and dates, all these dates," her voice quivered, scanning the scrawled handwriting. "What do you mean, gone missing?" Lydia's voice was frantic. "What names, Mia?" But before Mia could answer, a figure pushed through the crowd, forcing Lydia to jump back. It was Ethan, his face pale, words pouring out in a rush. "I can't believe this! I told you we shouldn't have messed with it! These are the names of the kids from years ago, the ones that vanished." He looked at Sarah, panic seeping from his. "Did you know?" Sarah's face twisted, torn between fear and despair. "I didn't want to believe it. I thought—" "I thought what?" Ethan interrupted, a mix of anger and desperation spilling from him. "You thought he wasn't involved?" Gregory stepped forward, hands raised in a half-hearted defense. "It was all a misunderstanding. They were just rumors." "Rumors?" Lydia shouted, her voice echoing around the square. "This isn't just a rumor, Gregory. There are real lives in those pages." But the words hung heavy in the air, and suddenly a siren wailed in the distance. The night felt thick with tension as the weight of their discoveries crashed down. An urgency crackled like static between them all. "Mia," Lydia breathed, her eyes darting. Back to her granddaughter's face, confusion and terror mixing. "What else does it say?" Mia's hands shook, clutching the notebook tighter. She flipped over another page, and then her face went ghostly pale. "Mom, there's a name here I recognize. It's your name, and it's next to a date that matches—" "Stop!" The desperate shout sliced through the crowd. All heads turned to Sarah. Lydia, you don't understand. The night they disappeared, we were all there. It was a party. My party. And you were the last one to see them. The air thickened like molasses. Lydia's heart raced. She felt a lump forming in her throat. No, that can't be right. But Sarah pressed on, voice trembling. You were there that night, even if you don't remember. I tried to protect you, to shield you from it all. But it's all connected. A series of gasps echoed through the crowd, like a wave of horror crashing down. What do you mean, protect? From what? Lydia asked, feeling dizzy. The notebook felt like a bomb about to detonate. Mia looked down. Mom, it says something about a pact. A pact with him. Lydia's stomach dropped. A pact? What kind of pact? Lydia, Gregory cried, his voice a raw edge. You don't want to know the truth. What truth? She spat back, anger boiling over. What could possibly be worse than what's already happened? But before he could answer, a blinding light flickered, illuminating the chaos in the square. The flames from the church had now spiraled out of control, a blaze licking the dark sky like angry tongues. Then, as if choreographed by fate, something burst through the flames, an object flying into the square, landing with a heavy thud. A blood-stained backpack. Panic struck again. Get back! An officer shouted, rushing toward the scene. But it was too late. More people gasped as they recognized it. The backpack belonged to one of the missing kids. The realization hung in the air like a noxious cloud, choking the gathered crowd. Mia! Get away! Lydia shouted again. But the young girl was frozen, eyes wide as she stared at the backpack. Mom, what does this mean? The world spun, this new wave of terror crashing over Lydia like icy rain. Questions pounded in her mind. Was there a connection to the pastor? To her own past? And suddenly, another cry sliced through the night. It's not just Gregory! You're all in danger! This isn't over! The voice was swallowed by the roar of the flames as chaos erupted. Lydia searched the crowd, her heart pounding. There were no answers, just frayed edges of a truth yet to be uncovered. What had just been unleashed? The darkness hugged close, and the pieces they had grasped started to slip away, leaving only a hollow echo of dread. As the sirens grew louder, she realized she was standing at the edge of a precipice, with no idea where the fall might lead. The flames flickered wildly, their heat licking the air as chaos erupted around them. Lydia felt a cold sweat prickling her skin. The crowd was in a frenzy. Whispers turned to shouts, and panic spread like a furious storm. Mia stood frozen, her expression a mixture of awe and dread, as she clutched the notebook so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Mia, give me that! Lydia yelled, her voice strained with urgency. But Mia didn't budge. What is this? Why is my name here? Mia whispered, her eyes scanning the frantic notes, her young mind trying to piece it all together. Before Lydia could reach for her, a deafening crash jolted everyone. The church's door flew open again, sending a cloud of smoke billowing out. At the same moment, a figure staggered into view. A girl, no older than Mia, her clothes torn and dirty. Lydia's heart dropped. It was one of the missing children, a local girl named Faith. How could she be here now? Mom? Faith's voice trembled, filled with fear as she blinked in the harsh light of the fire. Help me! They're coming for us! Lydia's stomach dropped. What? Who's coming for you? She shouted. feeling the surrounding faces turn toward Faith with disbelief. "Lydia!" came a panicked shout, breaking through the confusion. It was Sarah, eyes wild. "She can't be trusted. She was with him." The crowd gasped again, shifting uneasily. Lydia could already hear the murmurs, a tangled web of speculation being spun. "Mia, come back," Lydia pleaded, desperately inching forward. But her granddaughter's finger was tracing over the pages. "Mom, listen. There are dates here. They match. Faith went missing the night of that party." Faith's eyes darted to Mia, recognition lighting her face. You don't remember me, do you?" she breathed, stepping closer, fear etched deep into her brow. Lydia felt a shiver run down her spine. "What do you mean?" Just then, a series of loud thuds echoed from the church, jolting everyone into silence. The fire blazed brighter, illuminating a dark shape emerging from the smoke. A cloaked figure, face obscured. Gasps erupted from the crowd. "Run!" someone shouted. But the figure raised a hand, ushering them to stay. "You've unwound a thread you shouldn't have pulled." The voice was chilling, echoing through the square. "What are you?" Sarah demanded, her hands shaking. "I am the keeper of the secrets you thought buried," the figure said, stepping closer into the light. Everyone gasped as the hood fell back, revealing none other than Lydia's sister, Claire, missing for years. "Claire?" Lydia's voice rang incredulously. "How? What are you doing here?" With frantic eyes, Claire shook her head, her expression a mixture of horror and resolve. "You shouldn't have looked at that notebook. I didn't want you to find out, not like this. The pact Julius made, it was meant to protect us." "What are you talking about?" Lydia felt a wave of confusion wash over her. "Protect us from what?" "From them! From those who seek revenge for all that we've done." Claire's voice cracked, desperation boiling over. Mia stepped back, bewildered. "Mom, what does she mean? Who is Julius?" Before Lydia could process this new turn, Faith stepped forward, trembling. "We thought you were dead, but you were hiding, weren't you? You knew the truth all along." Another gasp swept the crowd. Shouts erupted again. Another shadow darted through the fire's glow, yellow eyes flashing. "Mia, run!" Lydia yelled at her daughter, heart racing as the flames flared wildly. She reached out, but everything turned to chaos in an instant. The truth they uncovered was nothing compared to the danger they now faced. Mia was still staring at Claire, confusion and fear twisting her features. "Mom, who are you really?" And as the figure lunged forward, the air thick with a sudden dread, Lydia realized that everything, every thread they had pulled, every secret unearthed, had unleashed something they were never prepared for. The night was just beginning, and the depth of their reality was about to deepen into something more terrifying than anyone could imagine. The flames roared behind the cloaked figure, casting eerie shadows across the terrified crowd. Lydia felt her heart pound, the depth of the situation crashing around her like a wave. Faith's eyes darted among familiar faces, whose shivering filled with secrets untold. "You were hiding," she repeated, voice barely above a whisper, glancing at Claire. "Why? You don't understand." Claire's voice trembled, her wide eyes darting back toward the fire, as if it could consume her words. "Julius made that pact to keep us safe, to protect from the darkness following us." "Protect from what?" Lydia shouted, frustration rising like bile in her throat. "Everything is already a mess. Who is Julius? Why didn't anyone tell me?" In that moment, Faith stepped back, gaze fixed on something beyond Lydia. "Look!" she cried, pointing to the church behind them. And then the unthinkable happened. The ground shook again, but this time it split. A fissure snaked through the earth, edges fracturing like glass, shattering under pressure. The people screamed, stumbling as a crack widened, dark and unfathomable, swallowing everything in its path. The very stones of their town threatening to crumble. "Mia!" Lydia shouted, reaching out, terrified her daughter would slip into the abyss. But Mia was already stepping back, eyes locking onto the darkness with a strange understanding. It was as if she sensed something, as if it spoke to her. The eerie quiet descended for a brief moment, each breath held captive. And then, from the fissure, a hand emerged, worn and skeletal, fingers protruding like talons reaching for salvation. The crowd gasped as a figure crawled forth, cloaked in shadows that writhed like smoke. "Stop!" Claire screamed, but it was too late. The figure stood, hiding its face beneath a dark hood, and as it stepped into the flickering light, everyone recoiled. "I am here," it rasped, voice echoing like a whisper from the grave, "to reclaim what is mine." Shivers danced down Lydia's spine. This was not the creature she imagined, not the remnant of their past. This was something much worse, something that linked back not just to the secrets of the town, but to her own blood. With a flick of its wrist, the figure pulled back the hood, revealing a face that stopped time, a twisted reflection of Lydia herself, warped and sorrowful. "Hello, sister," it said, lips curling into a dreadful smile. Gasps erupted, confusion blending into awe. Lydia stumbled back, confusion and horror flooding through her veins. "What? How? You didn't recognize me?" The figure laughed, a chilling sound. "You were always too busy hiding from the truth, but I have found my way back, and I am not alone. Those you thought lost are never truly gone." As if summoned, figures began to emerge from the darkness, faces that mirrored the fear and anguish of the townsfolk. Children gone too soon, friends never found, all whispering tales of betrayal and revenge. "Mia, run!" Lydia screamed, panic clawing at her throat. But instead, her daughter took a step toward the apparition, curiosity overwhelming caution. "Mom?" Mia's voice trembled, innocence clashing with the horror before her. Is she you? But how? Why?" The figure's smile widened, as sightless eyes fixed on Mia. "Ah, the next in line. Your fate is intertwined with ours, and now the past will claim you, just like it did with the others." The air thickened, crackling with malevolence. Lydia's heart raced. She felt the walls closing in. The night was steeped in shadows of old, the weight of generations collapsing, looming like a storm overhead. "Mia, listen!" Lydia rushed forward. "You don't know what you're doing. We need to—" But the darkness pulsed, drowning out her words. As the crowd began to panic anew. "Your family has buried these secrets long enough," the twisted figure bellowed. "And now the truth will rise from the ashes." Before Lydia could intercept, the ground shook once more, wider and deeper, the darkness swallowing the light. As the town screamed, the fissure expanded, revealing a path into the unknown. A path that led to everything they never wanted to face. The figure raised an outstretched hand. "Come forth and discover your legacy." Lydia felt the pull of the abyss. Everything she feared, every hidden truth ready to erupt. And Mia stood awestruck, caught between the past and an uncertain future. "Mom!" Mia called, eyes wide. And in that moment, with the entire town teetering on the edge of a cataclysm, Lydia realized everything she thought she knew had just been rewritten. The night was only beginning, and the darkness wasn't here to forgive. The figure stood before them, cloaked in shadow, its voice weaving through the remnants of fear like silk. Lydia felt her heart thump painfully. "You are not my sister!" she yelled, desperate to banish the horror. But the resemblance was undeniable. The twisted reflection of herself, mocking her. "I've waited a long time for this moment, dear sister," the figure whispered, an unsettling smile curving her lips. "You've taken everything from me. Now it's time to pay the price." The fissure beneath them pulsed ominously, shadows swirling like a living entity. "Mia, step back," Lydia shouted, lunging toward her daughter. But the ground trembled, and the dark figure pulled Mia closer with a subtle flick. "No!" Lydia screamed, every muscle in her body firing with panic. "Let her go!" But Mia's eyes were locked on the figure, a strange calm enveloping her. "Mom, it's okay," she said softly as if under a spell. She knows." Lydia felt the world tilt again, dread swallowing her up. "What do you mean she knows?" Her voice quaked under the weight of her fear. "Mia, come here! Mia, don't!" Claire called, her voice shaking. "You don't understand what she's offering. It's a trap." Just then, the darkness rippled, and a chilling laugh echoed from the depths. "Oh, dear Claire, you are so naive," the figure said. "Protection has limits. Your family's legacy is built on lies. Lies you refuse to acknowledge." The crowd murmured, confusion entwined with fear. Faces shifted, panic rising like smoke. "What legacy?" someone shouted. But the figure merely smiled, eyes glinting with malice. "Your precious Lydia has been living in ignorance. But she isn't who you think she is. She's so much more." Suddenly, a crack split the air. The ground beneath Lydia and Mia buckled violently. The flames from the church leaped higher, swirling around them, illuminating faces twisted with horror. "Mia!" Lydia yelled again, fear gripping her throat. The truth about her daughter, her family, loomed larger than the flames behind them. "Mom!" Mia said, her voice breaking. "I want to understand." Before Lydia could react, the shadowy figure reached out. A blinding flash enveloped them, and the world shimmered. With a sickening lurch, Lydia felt herself pulled into a vision, a memory, flooding back, buried deep beneath years of denial. There she was, a different Lydia, almost a child herself, standing in a living room filled with laughter. A birthday party, her sister beside her. And there, in the corner, sat the family, faces from the past she had thought lost. Yet there were others too, strangers whispering, their eyes dark with intent. "Mama, why is everyone here?" young Lydia asked, voice innocent, unaware. "Their family, dear," Claire replied, a practiced smile masking something darker. "They want to take care of you." And at that moment, everything shifted back. The shock ripped through Lydia, her breath hitching as the connection fell into place. "No, no," she gasped. "You used us as bait?" The shadow figure's laughter rang through the chaos. "And now we have something to reclaim. Once and for all." Something snapped within Lydia. The connection. the haunting laughter of her past. It all made sickening sense. "We were your pawns," Lydia breathed, helpless rage boiling inside her. "You wanted us to forget." "Exactly," the figure grinned, stepping closer to Mia, who still stood entranced. "Now, this child, she will be the bridge to our world. The past will be reborn through her." Panic surged through Lydia's veins, a wild urgency. "Mia, snap out of it!" she cried. "You don't know what she's offering. It's a lie!" But Mia's gaze was unfocused, lips parting slightly. "I want to know. I want to understand." "No." The darkness pulsed, a heavy weight pressing in on Lydia. There was more than just her daughter at stake here. As the flames rose higher, illuminating the chaos around her, she realized that whatever held her family together was now coming undone. "What's the truth?" Lydia shouted, demanding an answer through gritted teeth. And just as the figure started to speak, a deafening something dangerous and dark. "Mia!" Lydia screamed, reaching for her. But as the fissure gaped wider, something far more terrifying than she could ever imagine began to rise from its depths. What exactly had they been awakened to? The sound of the earth crumbling exploded in a way that felt like it was happening inside Lydia's chest. She could hardly breathe. The fissure widened and the ground shook, sending shockwaves through the crowd, leaving terrified expressions everywhere. The darkness spilled forth like ink on a page, and the whispers of ghostly voices filled the air. "Mia!" Lydia screamed, her voice cracking as she lunged toward her daughter. But the sinister figure, the twisted reflection of her past, tightened its grip on Mia, eyes shining with something malevolent and eager. "Mia, listen! This isn't who you want to learn about!" But Mia only stared, entranced. "I want to know, Mom. I need to." "Not like this." Panic twisted in Lydia's gut. "We can't let her take you. She's not—" But then, as though the world had flipped upside down, the shadows began to retreat. The cloaked figure recoiled, surprised, and as the darkness pulled back with a reluctant hiss, a bright light erupted from the fissure. Lydia squinted against the sudden brilliance, feeling the heat wash over her skin. Then, abruptly, something massive surged from the depths, a swirling vortex of light and shadow, an old, forgotten power unleashed. It wove patterns in the air, like a living tapestry before everything suddenly stilled, and there, standing defiantly at the edge of the light, was Claire. But not just Claire, transformed and radiant, with a clarity that struck like thunder. "You think you know the truth?" she boomed, voice echoing through the night. "You know nothing." The figure that mirrored Lydia staggered, unable to comprehend. "You were lost to us." "I chose to leave you behind," Claire snapped, face hardened with years of conflict. "You were dangerous. All of you." "Mama?" Mia whispered, eyes darting between her mother and her aunt, an innocent caught in a storm she couldn't comprehend. "No, stay back!" Lydia shouted, wrenching Mia closer as Claire's transformation continued, her very essence shimmering with a power that made Lydia's. "Heart race. Mia, this is not your path," Claire pressed forward. "I've kept something hidden from you all, something bound to protect our family." The crowd fell silent, fear and curiosity hanging in the air like a fog. "What are you talking about?" Lydia demanded, desperate for answers, desperate to reclaim her daughter from the brink of madness. Claire's eyes turned ancient. "The pact was never to protect you. It was to bind us to this place." to ensure that the darkness never claimed you. In that instant, revelations crashed down like glass shattering on concrete. The darkness in the town, the missing children, it all spiraled around them, twisting into a single heart-wrenching truth. Everything Lydia believed about her sister was wrong. Everything. She knew was a facade. "No, you can't be serious!" Nia shouted, breaking free from Lydia's grip. "Tell me the truth! Tell me how it all began!" And with a swift motion, Claire reached into the swirling light, pulling out something wrapped tightly in shadows. A woven bracelet, glowing faintly with a soft pulse, seemingly alive. "This belonged to our mother," Claire said, voice trembling with raw emotion. "And it holds the truth of everything, of who we really are." Lydia felt ice slide through her veins. "What do you mean, who we are?" Suddenly, the figure that mirrored Lydia began to laugh, a sound that twisted Lydia's insides. "You think you've escaped your heritage? You are all bound to the night. The truth isn't just yours. It is a legacy that requires a sacrifice." A startling realization struck Lydia. What if she was part of something bigger? Something horrific that transcended mere town gossip? A pain gripped her heart. A longing for a life that could never be hers. One stained by secrets interwoven with love, betrayal, and fear. As Claire stepped forward, the swirling light began to wrap around her, pushing back the darkness that loomed. "Trust me," she yelled, gripping the bracelet tightly. "We can break this cycle, but you have to follow me." "Mia, please listen to me," Lydia pleaded, panic creeping back into her chest. "We can leave. We can start over." But Mia shook her head, her gaze fixated on the bracelet. "I have to know! We have to know!" The tension reached its peak, chaos swirling as the crowd remained frozen in time, the splitting world around them threatening to swallow everything whole. "Mia!" Lydia sobbed, extending her hand, fear surging through her like lightning. But with every heartbeat, a question echoed deep in her mind. Was Mia ready to uncover the truth? Ready to inherit a nightmare wrapped in hidden legacies? In that moment of sheer horror and desperation, the true nature of their family hung fragrance in the air as the light flickered, revealing the heartbeat of the darkness that threatened them all. What choice would Mia make? And would it lead them into salvation, or lead them all into the abyss? The air pulsed with anticipation as Claire's voice hung heavy, undeniable. "You've kept the truth hidden, Lydia. The darkness is real, and it's coming for you. Coming for all of us." Mia stood frozen, her eyes wide, caught between the swirling light and the suffocating shadows, her innocence teetering on the edge. "Mom," she whispered again, searching for answers. But as Claire advanced, something in Lydia snapped. "No, I won't let you take her." Anger surged through her body, propelling her forward, desperate to shield Mia from the nightmare threatening to consume them. Suddenly, the cloaked figure recoiled. "You don't understand, Lydia. The pact was not just to trap us. It's to unite us, to bind us to the truth." The ground began to shake. More violently, the fissure gaping wider, shadows twisting and writhing like serpents. "You'll never understand until you're fully in." "No!" Claire shouted, defiance lacing her voice. "We break that bond tonight." But the figure laughed, a sound that rippled through the crowd, sending shivers down spines. "You think you can escape without understanding the cost?" Before anyone could react, the massive fissure erupted, the brightness seeping into the darkness, as if the universe were tearing apart. A torrent of light burst from within, drowning the shadows and illuminating the faces of the crowd in its blinding glow. "Nia, please!" Lydia shouted, panic filtering through her as she felt her daughter's grip slip from her hand. "No!" Nia turned her head toward the light, entranced. As if under a spell. "Mom, it's beautiful." The figure surged forward, arms outstretched, and with an echoing cry, everything shifted. The very fabric of the air seemed to tear. A loud boom resounded, then silence. Lydia's heart raced. "Mia, no!" As the dust settled, confusion lingered in the air. Lydia's eyes darted around for her daughter, for anyone. The crowd seemed stuck in time, whispers zipping through like electric currents, shocked expressions, wide eyes. "What just happened?" someone asked. "Mia?" Lydia's voice cracked, fear clawing at her throat. She fought the urge to break into a run, every ounce of her being focused on finding her child. But the scene before her transformed. The fissure closed up, shadows drawn back, revealing a figure. Illuminated by the light. "Mia?" The light flickered and dimmed into the form of a girl. A girl who looked exactly like Mia, but older. A mirror of her daughter, just a little fuller, a little more knowing. "Mom?" she smiled, voice tender yet haunting. "You finally found me." Lydia staggered back, breath hitching. "What? Who are you?" "Mia, but different. The future, Mom. You just couldn't see it yet." "No!" Panic surged again. "This couldn't be happening. Get away from her!" But the future Mia stepped closer, and suddenly the world warped again, memories impinging on Lydia's mind, floods of faces flashing before her, children's laughter, a party, and all at once, those missing. "Don't you see?" the future Mia said, voice smooth. "You were meant to find this, to open the door to the past so you could shape the future. I'm your answer." Lydia gripped her head, struggling with the enormity of it all. The truth, the darkness. What did it mean? What choice did she have? But reality shifted like quicksand beneath her. Desperation clawed at her insides. How can... But before she could finish, a piercing scream erupted from the crowd. "No, not her!" Lydia whipped around to find Claire being yanked backward into the darkness by the malevolent figure, the shadows swallowing her whole. "Lydia, you have to choose. The line between past and future is fraying. You must decide." "Mom!" future Mia cried, extending her hand toward the chaos unfolding. And just like that, the very core of Lydia's heart shattered. Secrets unfurling, choices igniting like fireworks. A night spiraling into madness. The truth her sister could have revealed. Her daughter slipping through a time warp that bent reality. "Who are you really?" Lydia gasped, desperation filling her voice. But before the echo of her words hung, a deafening crash resonated from the remains of the church, shaking the ground once more. This was beyond her, further than she could comprehend. All she could think now, would the bond of blood lead to salvation or drown them in darkness? As the forces of time blurred around them and the figure dissolved into shadows, a question lingered in the air, electrifying with possibilities. Was it too late to rewrite their destiny? The world around them hissed and crackled as shadows writhed against the encroaching light. A palpable tension enveloped the town square, where Lydia stood, heart racing, as she felt the ancient weight of secrets pressing down on her. Mia, she could hardly breathe, her eyes darting between her daughter's future self and the darkness that threatened to engulf Claire. Please, don't believe her. Future Mia's blue eyes glimmered with something Lydia didn't quite understand. Courage or fear? Mom, this is our chance. We can rewrite everything. But the haunting figure, still cloaked in darkness, pushed forward, a chilling grin stretching across its ethereal face. You think you can undo the past? You'll only bind yourselves deeper. Lydia's heart pounded. The fissure threatened to swallow Claire. The pulse of chaos barely contained. Stop, you're hurting her. Mama, Mia cried, her voice a heart-wrenching plea. Help Claire! With every ounce of resolve, Lydia stepped forward, refusing to let fear dictate her choices any longer. Claire, fight it. Remember who you are. The world blurred around them, bricks trembling, echoes of laughter and sorrow swirling into a cacophony that blended with flames crackling in the backdrop. The realization hit Lydia hard. Betrayal. Family ties forged in darkness, and the lineage that had haunted her for years. Claire's face shifted, the shadows retreating slightly. I've tried to protect us all, Lydia. You must understand. No. Lydia's voice broke like glass. You shielded us from the truth. It's time to rise from the darkness. In that instant, everything changed. Future Mia held out her hand, channeling the light into a force that pushed back the encroaching shadows. Together, she yelled, and for the first time, Lydia felt the bond of hope coursing through her veins. What had been lost could be reclaimed. They were stronger as a family, faced with the enormity of their past. In a heartbeat, an echo of a promise formed, sweeping through Lydia. Let's break this cycle, together. With fierce determination, they united their strength. A radiant energy pooling between them. The warmth of memory, the bond of love, the clarity of purpose binding them as one. The light soared, dazzling, illuminating every shadow that dared creep toward them. Claire found her footing. Defiance, bubbling beneath layers of pain. This family is not just shackled to the past. As the darkness hissed, the figure writhed, but the light surged forward. We reclaim what belongs to us, Lydia proclaimed, heart bursting with conviction. We break the pact. In a blinding flash, everything evaporated. The abyss, the echoes of loss, layering them with hope as bright as the dawn. When the light dimmed, the fissure sealed, shadows retreating, the landscape transformed, vibrant and alive. Mia smiled, breathless. Mom! Lydia rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her daughter in a fierce embrace, tears cascading down her cheek. I thought I lost you. You didn't, Mia whispered, her voice steady. We faced it together. Claire, standing firm by their side, her eyes reflecting both sorrow and a flicker of relief. We need to embrace our truth. It's what will guide us forward. And as the remnants of darkness faded, the townsfolk began to breathe again, gazes lifting in wonder. Whispers turned to gasps of hope as they stepped from the shadows, freed from the weight that had clouded their lives for too long. In that moment, Lydia knew pain could birth healing, that their legacy would not be stained by darkness. Let's build from this, she said, voice strong. Let's reclaim our town, our story. A family strengthened by the trials they never wanted, but now faced as one. With the town at their backs, light coursing through their veins, they stepped forward toward an uncertain future, but one filled with possibilities, and together they would write it. You have to subscribe right now. Don't wait even one more second to share this. If you want to know how their story continues, smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm. And flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. This is the moment to show your support. Feel the thrill? Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. Your engagement makes all the difference.